And we're live.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. This is the Agency Operators Podcast. I'm Pasha, and today I have Aaron Grant, the Executive Vice President of Urtasker. Really excited to have you on. We've been friends for a little while, talking a lot about Amazon e-commerce, the whole space. So, yeah, thankful to have you here, Aaron. How's everything today?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Really excited to be here. Things are good. We're recovering from Prosper, and just kind of the show kind of starts after the show ends, so to speak. As far as agency operator is concerned. So we're just kind of dealing with all of that, and I probably should have scheduled this for like a week later, but it was on the calendar, and I didn't want to not show up, so I'm here.
Well, I appreciate you, and all the craziness, the busyness. I can imagine post Prosper, you have a big list of communications happening, right?
Yep.
So, tell me a little bit about the show. What were some highlights that you saw this year? Any kind of trends? What was something that's really prominent compared to maybe previous years?
Yeah, so I've been going to Prosper for 3 years. So I saw 2022, 2023, and now 2024, right? Um, it's like I've been there 3 years. Every time it's felt very different. It's like it has not been the same show every year. So that is both good and bad, because last year wasn't the most thrilling of shows, from our perspective. But I do have to say um, that they kind of pulled out a lot of stops, and they did everything that they could in order to make this a better show. And I felt that everybody that I talked to, all the vendors, all the friends, all the relationships that we have, with other vendors, they all felt that as well. Crowd was much better, and there was way more focus on like kind of channels showing up to the show. TikTok was there, Walmart was there, Amazon had like 4 or 5 different booths there for for SIPs and for all the different things that they're doing. So it felt kind of rewarding for the people who showed up to the show, to the sellers. They kind of got there and were able to have some FaceTime with the major channels, rather than them just being some ghost in the background and we're all talking about them, but they're not here. It's like I don't expect Jeff Bezos to show up to the show, but it's kind of nice to see the channels themselves walk up. TikTok was obviously pretty buzzy, being there. Shine was there. It was kind of interesting in that effect.
Awesome. So, out of all the, considering that there's so many other channels showing up, that obviously paints a picture where these channels make a lot of sense to be on if you're a big Amazon seller. Like, is it enough now in 2024 to just be on Amazon, or should people actually get more exposure to TikTok, social media platforms, or other, sales platforms like Walmart?
Yeah, I mean, it is a case by case kind of situation. I hate to say, I hate it when somebody says, "Well, it depends," but like honestly, it kind of depends. Um, it comes down to if you're ready for that, and also some of these channels, they're a play for the long term. Like I'd put Walmart inside of that category, right? Like Walmart, we all know is like the number two, and it's trying to make its strides
Mhm.
and trying to do its things, but there's still work to be done there. And anybody who says, "Oh, I'm going to go on Walmart and I'm going to make as much money as I make on Amazon," no, you're not. That's just not how that happens. It's different buyer. Their capabilities are different. We help a lot of people on Walmart, but sometimes it's frustrating. You go to a screen, you'll refresh it. It'll literally say, "Oops, something broke. Come back later."
Mhm.
Come on, like it's there's a little bit of that. So Walmart is a play for get in now, set yourself up, but don't expect it to be the cash cow, for a couple of years as far as that's concerned. TikTok is very buzzy. We're TikTok shop partners. We actually just got that into their partnership kind of program, helping people inside of that. But again, do you have the content for it? Do you have the ability to pump that out in a decent way so that the affiliates work, so that the advertising works? That's another facet to it. I would say if you're not graduated and you're not at a level of comfortability on a certain channel, diverting your attention and kind of being the jack of all trades and master of none is probably not your best bet. And most people walk in through the front door from Amazon because it's got the greatest capability. So I'd suggest staying there until you have things worked out, because Walmart takes a lot of money too. So if you got a profitability margin issue on Amazon, you can have it on Walmart. So, get that fixed, get that worked out, and then going to these other channels is almost like taking the weighted vest off as far as that's concerned, because you've done all the due diligence in order to put yourself in the right spot.
What about sending traffic from those platforms to Amazon?
Yeah, so big fan, right? There's tons of case studies out there from all the different, different channels that are from coming from social, coming from Google Ads, coming from, there's all vendors that do all these different types of things. The I'm not compensated for doing this, but there's a particular channel that we're really buzzy about, which is called Levanta, which is more or less a publishing and an affiliate marketing platform. You walk in, you tell them a flat percentage, you add another percentage on top for the affiliates and the publishers to get there. And when they make the sale, that's when you pay out. But that to me is a better bet for an Amazon seller. It's what we're recommending to a lot of our partners, and I also know some great people over there, Greg, and a few others that are doing fantastic work over there that I know and I trust. Um, they're that to me is a more sure bet. I want offsite traffic to go to Amazon to convert the organic play and the win there. We're a rev share agency. I want all that to happen because things organically go through the roof. But if I'm thinking about it from the seller's perspective, I involve myself inside of that tool. I can either take 15% of my budget and reinvest it in a PPC, right? Or I could take 15% of what the sale is and put it into Levanta. But with Levanta, I'm getting the guaranteed sale. Not saying that there isn't a place for PPC. There definitely is. We all know it, right? Like that's table stakes, right? We all know that. But that's a really interesting platform that uses social, that uses influencers on social, but also uses publishers that are like CNN, MSNBC, and like don't quote me on all these things. I think they're all there, but like TechCrunch, Wirecutter, Blue Book. There's just a lot of publishers that like if you were to try to handle that as an Amazon seller, good luck, man. The W-9s you got to sign, all the paperwork, all the contracting, and how expensive it is to get an influencer to even like engage is just kind of nuts. And this platform has it worked out at a really solid model, and they do a lot of the logistics in the back end. So I'm really bullish on that.
Very cool. I spoke with Greg actually a couple weeks ago. I was looking at Levanta too.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a win, right? We're getting going with it, and I'll be able to share a case study of it, when everything comes out, within the first like 3 months of running it, stuff like that. And I plan on posting all that and making content about it, but I don't see it not working out. And that was my brass tacks kind of question because like I said, I have a good relationship with them. I was like, why wouldn't I do this?
yeah,
Tell me like who wouldn't do this, right? He's like, if you don't have the margin, don't do it. If you've got the margin, you do it. And
definitely.
I'm with it. I believe him when he says it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, there was one limitation I saw. I think it's like you can only send out to 5 per day, and then you might have to get like an increase in the account subscription. Then you can do like 10 a day or something like that. So they
Yeah,
they put a limit because everybody was just getting flooded.
yeah.
This is very smart.
Everybody's sending out 160,000 requests per day, and everybody's
Yeah,
getting blessed. Yeah. Yep. You know what? Walk the line.
yeah,
There's got to be some throttling there, otherwise everybody's just going to go nuts.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I tried out the closed beta for creator connections through Amazon Seller Central.
Yeah,
I was really not pleased with that. I think that's a beta that definitely needs a lot of work,
yeah,
just because of the quality of the influencers that you have access to over there.
yeah.
But one thing that we're using is another platform actually called Social Cat, and
Oh,
that
you know what? I got going with Social Cat. I didn't actually, put anything through. I got like all the invites and stuff like that, and then it kind of got stalled. But like you got actual because like you can make it so that it literally the product itself is the compensation of the thing. You're not shelling
that's
out
what it is.
thousands of dollars per influencer. It's literally I got this product. You want it, and if you do, you post it. How did it work out?
It's going pretty well. We're doing another round right now. I used it a little while back. I think their system actually improved in many ways. But the great thing is, um, you can do that where you're just giving away product, and then that'll give you the opportunity to test out the true engagement with this influencer.
Yeah,
And they're only doing like one post or something small. But if you get a good result and you can give them their own affiliate link, if they're sending to Amazon, you do, an affiliate link,
yeah,
or
brand
you can
rebate.
set
Yep,
up something. Yeah. So you can make sure that you track it. And
yep,
if you get good results, then you already know that this is a partner that you can actually give money to and you can
Right.
work on an ongoing basis.
Right. Then you send a
So
little email and you say, "Hey, how about $1,500?" They get more excited. They make more posts. It's a good way to kind of start on here and then graduate up and really figure out is it because that's always been the thing for affiliate marketing for the last 10 years.
yeah,
And that's working here and that's working, previous agencies. It was always just, man, when it hits, it hits. It's a home run.
yeah.
But, there's only 1 out of 10 that's a home run and everything else is kind of middling or just like, a swing at bat and a strike. And it's just like, that's not going to do it. So great way to kind of test. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we tried making lists and doing all this like manual influencer outreach through DMs and things like that, but it just wasn't cutting it. I mean, the response rate was very low. So using these
Yeah.
kind of platforms, I think, are really smart ways to find the people who are really looking at the influencer thing as a business model for themselves.
Yeah.
Um, but it has to be the right mix, because if people are just abusing their social following with, every day they're promoting stuff, eventually they're just like, oh, this is just like a
Yeah. This is just you. And you're just doing that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
it's kind of cool because, like, even from like last year at Innovate and the year before, all the focus was off Amazon traffic headed there. There's Pixel Me by Carbon 6. There's just a bunch of them. And they're speaking and they're showing case studies and stuff. And we're bullish on them. I love Carbon 6. Love Jeff over there and what they're doing. But like it's kind of cool to see like the market kind of evolve and actually businesses make it so that this isn't such a chore anymore, because previously it was so much manual work towards it. It was like, we have an agency, we have over 100 clients. How are we going to do that for, in mass? How am I going to scale that? I'm actually not afraid of that anymore, because of these like infrastructures and these actual companies and services that are coming together to make it easier on us, rather than trying to have to just white knuckle it and send a lot of emails and sign a lot of things and get that all done. It's way too much. But like I think 2024 is looking really strong for us being able to scale that for our
Hmm.
people. And even with talking with some people from Prospers and some leads there, they're like, "What's your philosophy on growth?" It's like, well, we have our things and our path forward and our phases that we do with waste elimination and day parting and like all these things and all these tech stack that we have. But then I always put that at the end of just like, and once everything is primed and we understand cogs and we understand where your margin is at, we go in this direction. And it resonates with them. And I think it's a win-win, especially for us because we're performance based. So we're ready to see the numbers, get big from the thing, but we're also really ready to see the organic payoff that happens after the fact. So it's
Hmm.
uh it's a good short term and it's a good long term for us. So why wouldn't we do that?
It's very nice to have a game plan. I mean, if somebody is just really getting started as a seller, right? Whether they're, just launched their Shopify, they just launched their Amazon, and they're looking for somebody to help them. Yeah, there's a limitation that you'll eventually run into where you're like, all right, well, we got the reviews, it's making sales, we have all the PPC campaigns, we discovered the terms, we launched all the
Yep.
video ads, banner ads. All right, now what? All right, well,
Yeah.
now you have DSP, now
Yep.
you have affiliates and this,
Other
influencers.
marketplaces to move into, like literally just moving from US to UK, literally like all these. That's kind of the funner part of it is like that opening the door to the next thing. As long as you do well as an agency operator, and you fulfill, you got a good relationship with these people, you're easy to work with, these types of things. Once the balance is struck, they're making money, we're making money, life is good. It's like, hey, let's go somewhere else. Like, let's open up. Let's get creative with this. Like, let's figure out what our next thing is. And as long as you're doing good work, it's a very like fun conversation instead of like this like pitchy conversation of like, hey, let's try to do this and let's try to do that. It's like, you know what? We really got to start playing on the affiliate side of things. That's how the A players do this, right? A players, they don't go out there and just generate their own traffic. That's not what they do, right? You step in front of as much traffic as you possibly can.
Hmm.
And affiliate marketing is the fantastic way to do that. And when you just have that with the client, they're just like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, let's just get on big publications. Let's do it. How do we do it? And now we've got some infrastructure that we can actually push that forward. I dare say it's fun. I mean, obviously, it's agency operation isn't always fun, right? There's things to deal with, right? There's pressure, there's push, but this is kind of a fun frontier that I'm really excited about for 2024 for our clients, for our rev share clients in particular. I mean, we do a lot of other things than just that, Um, but yeah, this is a cool time. It's actually a really interesting time for all of this, and it felt like before we got to that, it felt a little dead endish because like
Hmm.
if I was a one seller and I wanted to do that, okay, I can handle all that, but like as an agency, nah, I would have to hire 20 people who are just dealing with that, and it's logistically a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tech that's coming out right now, and I don't want to get into this topic too much with the AI stuff, but that is what is essentially enabling so much leverage for us, right? I mean, it's the structuring things in a way where you can have a small team and do so much work and
Yeah.
be efficient at it too,
Yep.
not just produce garbage. I'm not talking about those like,
No, the results are nuts. If it find the right tool, right? Like you said, I won't get too far into it because I think that was like a subject of a previous podcast. I don't want to bore anybody, but finding the right one, there's a lot, right?
yeah,
But you find the right one, you click it together with the right thing, and you figure out what your tech stack is really going to be. And we've definitely done that. We've done our testing. We found our partners. We found the things that we trust in. We found the things that get the results. Crazy results.
yeah,
Crazy. It's just you have to vet it, and that's your job as an agency operator is going through the pitches, going through the demos, understanding the difference, finding the good people that are on the other end, comparing and contrasting and split testing and stuff like that. But we feel pretty good about where we've landed so far, but we also have to keep our eyes open, like a lot, all the time.
yeah,
That's like a portion of what my day is. A portion of my day as EVP is literally just keeping eyes open for what the next thing is, right? And I guess that's kind of also part of the double-edged sword of it is, these tools become available, right? But they don't just go to agencies. They also become available for sellers. So us as agency operators, we got to be smart and we have to find the best tool and the best tech stack to put together because it's also doing a good job of leveling the playing field, right? From an agency perspective, we used to have, in-house tools that like no seller could afford. They couldn't pull it off. They couldn't do it, right? But now things are a lot more affordable. So they could say, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to go up to that tool and I'm going to do that tool myself." It's like, "Okay, you need capable hands, you need good people on our side, but like are we putting the best tools together to get the best result at the end, which is 140x, where if you got going with that tool it'd only be 20x and you have to kind of like be there for that fight. It's that chess game that's going on."
and I think that's exactly at the heart of the value of an agency, where you are the synthesizer of these components, where people
Yeah,
can reach out and get this service, or they can find this freelancer that does this job. But really, the art of it is finding the right people and the right tools and making them work together in the right way. And that's where the value is. And that's why you go to an agency, because they've already done all that for you.
right.
So you're paying a little bit more than doing it all yourself, but the time that you save, the headache,
Time.
the pain, right?
Time.
Yeah.
The only value, not the only value. There's much more value than that. I think we're underselling it a little bit, but a massive value is time. I've
Yeah.
done the experimentation. I've done the tests. I've tried all the tools. I've done the things. I've got the people here who already know how to do it, and I've paid them in order to be trained in order to do it. You want to try to pull that off? You could go ahead and spend 200 grand in order to pull it off, or you could come to us. We already know what we're doing, and in our unique case, we're performance based, so we kind of put our money where our mouth is as well, and it just makes sense. And it kind of makes it like a no-brainer, kind of like right over here, you make an offer that they can't refuse. They'd be stupid not to do it. That's the packaging, right? That's the offer.
That's exactly it. And it sells itself. So you mentioned that you guys are share based, right? So you don't charge like a flat fee up front. You work
We
on.
charge a minimal retainer, but
Okay.
it pays for like butts in seats and the tools that I'm talking about, the tech stack. I don't want like full exposure for the entire thing, but like it's laughably small compared to others inside of the space, as far as what they would normally charge on a retainer. But we get a percentage of the growth of the business. So it's
Okay.
it's based on delta. They got their brand to where they got their brand to. That's awesome. We appreciate that. We deserve no credit for it, right? But we watermark them as to where they are, and when we make that number go up, then it's time to charge. We're Amazon salespeople, so to speak, in that particular regard. But it's kind
So
of cool because also we want the thing to explode, right? We're not a traditional agency that like if it's up, it's down, it's whatever. Hey, did they sign the 12-month retainer? They did. Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we have to make our case in 11 months. When the contract is up, and try to get them to resign again. It's not like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We got. I want it fixed. I want it fixed now.
Hmm.
Just as much as they do. So there's that energy towards it where we're on the same side of the table.
And they can feel that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I don't want to self promote too much. That's not the concept. But like that, I think that's very unique. Is like I came from agency life for a long time. I know what that dance is. I know what the retainer dance is. I don't like it. It felt so much more correct for you to be like just on the same side of the table. When there's a problem, when a listing gets taken down, when there's a case that needs to be opened up, I want it fixed. I want
Mm.
to throw people at it. I want to solve that thing, and they get that energy, and they sense it from our AMs. They sense it from our PPC people. They just sense it, and that's why our lifetime value is as high as it is, and why people stick around as long as they do.
So are you charging a percent on incremental over a period of like 6 month average or some kind of average, or is it just kind of month to month? Or
12-month average, we look back because that helps allocate for seasonality,
that's
right? You
true.
could have a major spike in December, and if I only look back 6 months and December's a thing, well, that's kind of setting the water level a little too high for our expectations in January, right? So we look back 12 in order to get the seasonality in play. There is more conversation that comes along with that too. Are they already up on an upward trajectory? Are they doing things off of Amazon in order to help support? Do they have retail presence? There's balance to be struck there. But that's essentially it. We find where their average daily has been over the last year. When we exceed it, life is good, and net, we do pretty dang well for them. And usually there's also something inside of there that if we do really well, then the contract renews itself. So it's positively reinforcing us in order to do that. They see a nice number in the agreement. It's put there, it's clear. And when we hit it and the contract renews, then I just locked up more MMR for the agency. So, from a
Mm.
selfish perspective, that's a good thing for us.
And you guys would take that percentage on not just the Amazon side, but their website too, right? Because if you're doing stuff outside, then I mean everything gets affected essentially.
Yep, exactly. So, when we move into other channels, then we find what the watermark was in that channel. We combine it with the watermark on both of them. It's a lot of math. It's a lot of
Yeah.
math, but it's worthy. It's worthy math. So our deals are a little bit more bespoke, but it's finding that great balance of, hey, you want somebody who can handle Amazon, Walmart, Shopify, eBay, Etsy. Okay,
Mm.
that's not common in the space. That's a unique thing that we
Yeah.
can do. We find where all those levels are, and bring them all up, and it's just nice. It sounds cheesy, but it's just a very positive conversation for everybody.
So how does one, let's say, is my case, right? I
Yeah.
have a flat rate that I charge, and then sometimes there's a percentage. Maybe later on there's some kind of a rev share or profit share.
Okay.
But because maybe of the size accounts that we work with, I mean, we do have 7 and 8 figure sellers, but we also have some really small or just launching brands, right? They
Yeah, sure.
did
We do
well on.
we do too. For full transparency, sometimes it's about finding that burgeoning brand. But anyway, didn't mean to interrupt. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm just curious, how do we go into a rev share or profit share with a company that is just starting out? I mean, that's a lot of resources up front. That's a lot of risk up front. What
Yeah.
if they decide that, you know what, I just want to find somebody else in 3 months just for what, or something goes wrong? Like there's so many parts that you don't control. You don't control their supply chain. You don't control
Yep.
what the internal financing and what their cogs are, or,
Yep.
none of that. So you're just like, all right, we'll do your marketing, but and we'll take a cut of what we make, but there's no guarantees, and you have to pay people no matter what. So
Right.
is it just because you guys got to a certain size where some of the income that you were making from your previous clients were enough to kind of invest into the future of the clients, or you guys were always like that from the beginning?
No, we were not always like that for the beginning. And to be clear, launches are a very kind of touchy subject because, I mean, call a spade a spade. Out of 10 launches, 3 of them hit,
Yeah.
right? And we all know that, right? Let's not pretend that we're 10 out of 10. Let's just not, right? So our job and what we do is we audit account, we audit, as much as we possibly can beforehand. So we know that we're getting into a good situation. Our job is to find a 3. But we play conservative and we try to narrow it down to like the one that's just like, oh my God, this is going to work. Right. So launches are not a very common thing as far as the rev share is concerned as a whole. We also love to have data that can help us inform strategy, right? If you're starting from a blank page, what's the invisible hand of capitalism going to do? What are competitors going to outbid, you to death? You don't know these things when you're getting going with a launch. So if we were to get going on a launch, if we see a lot of times what ends up being the right fit is like when a lead comes to us, or it's referred to us, or it comes from any of the review websites or whatever, sometimes companies will come and they'll be like, hey, listen, we're huge, we have retail presence, we got our own website, we got everything, we just never did Amazon, we just never did it, we're just late to the game.
Mm,
Right? Those are the kind of situations where it's like, okay, you got an email list, you've got the ability to send traffic, you've got socials already built, you've got this like infrastructure that we can get going with. Let's go for it. Like, that seems like it's the 1 out of 10, right? Because it has so much potential energy kind of pulled back that it can, just shoot straight forward. That's the ICP of a launch for RevShare. It would be that kind of scenario. Anything less than that, and it's really got to go through its paces. And I would say 95% of launches that apply in order to be inside of our RevShare program, we just politely have to say, I'm sorry, but no, it's not for us right now.
yeah, that's a dream for a startup, right? It's just like, you're this prestigious agency, just do the work for me and I'll pay you after you get me some sales, right? It's like,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
yeah, but
The only other one that I would say that makes sense is another one of our ICPs and ones that we have great success with is manufacturers. They got more meat on the bone. They got more, they have better margins. They're able to absorb that cost up front. They're able to realize that, as long as you set expectations, though, right? You can't have them walking in, because a lot of times manufacturers aren't e-commerce savvy. Sometimes they walk in and they're like, oh, if we get started on Amazon, it'll be maybe like 10% of what our sales are for the year in month 3. It's like, no, it takes longer than that. It takes longer than that, Joe. Sorry. That's not it. And if that's what you're looking for, we're not the place, and I don't mean that negatively. It's just, if they need to understand that. And if you don't do that, then it's a disservice to you and to them, because the contract's just going to end in a short period of time, and we just don't engage that way. But manufacturers are also a beautiful setup for that.
is a large portion of your clientele manufacturers, or mostly just kind of brands?
That mostly brands, but that's been like, since I've gotten here, that's been our a target of ours, right? For our outreach, for our engagement, for some of our content, things like that, has been going after that ICP. Now there's a hurdle there, right? Because like I said, a lot of manufacturers are not e-com savvy, and if you just walk through the door and be like, hey, you want to start an Amazon, they're just like, what? No, that's not what we do. We manufacture.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody always says, like, well, why doesn't manufacturers just get into drop shipping? Why doesn't manufacturer just get into the thing? It's just not what they do. It's not their business model. It's not who they are. Right. But if we could be the connective tissue, then it works out really well for everybody. But like, conveying that and getting them to understand that, that's the education that I'm still trying to exactly work out the best way in order to bridge that gap and let them know, like, hey, this is something that is certainly worth a shot. Let's explore this opportunity, and if it makes sense, let's go. And if not, then we part ways as friends, and you got yourself an Amazon account. We can still keep, you can still sail off into the sunset, and we part ways as friends. I don't usually try to phrase it like that, but that's really the reality of it.
So what about, I don't know, competitive hurdles with manufacturers? So if I'm a manufacturer and I'm selling to all these different people who are branding the product, and then I come into the market with my own brand, are there any conflicts there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very delicate balance, because they'll be super reserved on pricing. Sometimes they have exclusivity agreements that they can't do this item because they signed this piece of paper 2 years ago, and that's this person's client, so they, that's the person's product, so they can't do that. There's logistics that are associated with it, but we have found that that juice is worth a squeeze. It always starts better when they come to us and they're like, hey, listen, we're open into this channel, and we're open-minded to it, and kind of going from there. But the main reason, and this is something that you said before, the main reason why I love them is not for margin, is not for that. It's not for the flexibility. If they want to modify their product or make a new box or something like that, usually they're super flexible with that. They're like, yeah, give me a week. If you're talking to a private label, it's like, I don't know, 7 months, it's going to be a while,
Yeah.
But the main reason is inventory. Because you were talking about all the things that are outside of our control.
Yep.
We stress it a million times when we're talking to people. It's like, listen, the number one thing that's going to kneecap us is if you don't keep us in stock. We will help you with replenishment reports. We'll help you with inventory levels. And good God, what a nightmare it is now with the inventory fees and
Yeah.
too much, too little, and the dark fees that are behind the scenes that nobody really articulates. But like, we'll help you forecast. We'll help you come up with what the right levels are. But when you come to us and you say like, oh, you know that Amazon Choice product that you made happen over the last 6 months, we're not going to have it in stock for 6 months. What am I going to do? Like, what are we going to do together, right? As partners, right? You are kneecapping us. So that's the ultimate vulnerability. And manufacturers never have a problem with that because they're the manufacturer. They can get it produced. Sometimes we'll go to them and be like, hey, how fast is turnaround? And they're like, I don't know, 2 days. I go talk to my guy in the back here and I can have him run 1,000 units right now and it'll be in a box and shipped in 2 days. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
This is a
Amazing.
great thing.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I mean, I definitely understand now, like if you have a manufacturer as a partner, the inventory issue is so minimized. And that is the number one issue because you can do everything perfectly. But if you have no product to sell, I mean, there's no fuel in your car,
Yep. Yep.
you're,
And
you're,
that's
you're
why
done.
that's why my prospectus and my goal is to be, you know, not just a performance agency because that makes sense for a lot of brands, but the performance agency for manufacturers. And that's how we're moving forward. And that's one of our ICPs that we're really heavy after.
So let's talk a little bit about that lead generation. Inbound, outbound, combo. What's working for you guys? I mean, I don't want you to share too much of your proprietary stuff, but
No, it's
you
fine.
know, yeah, whatever
Yeah,
you can share.
it's a balance of both. We have good reputation out there. We've got good SEO. We got good leads coming through. Calls booking pretty regularly. That's not too hard of a thing. Paid is there's a lot of nuance to being in paid in this space. All right, any agency operator is going to tell you that. It's not like it's been for every other position I've ever held and any other niche I've ever held. Usually you say, hey, um, what is our target? Where do they hang out online? How do we advertise in front of them? And how do we do it? Right. It's not that easy for Amazon sellers, right? It's not always in their title. It's not always in their job description. It's not always, what they put on LinkedIn. It's not as clearly defined, right? So again, like you said, not getting too much into the magic of things. Custom audiences have worked better for us than lookalikes. It's more expensive, but it has usually ended up in better return. And we're actually really kicking into another gear as far as paid is concerned. We've got a lot of flights and things set up in order to really start sending the signal out in an even better way because we just rebranded.
Mm.
So, new website. We have new divisions that are more clearly marked out. Before Urtasker was, it was a VA company at the start. And we still have VAs. We still have experts that we can put onto the job for, more a la carte type of projects and, more economical things. But we have our PBC division, which is AI and human, and then we have the rev share. But before we made these divisions and we communicated that, it was always kind of like Urtasker does all of that. There could be one Urtasker client who's rev share and one that's, VAs. And it's like, that doesn't jive. So we just rebranded. So now that is complete, a labor of love, now it's really time to start sending the signal out. So we got some good plans for that.
What about email lists? Reaching out to potential, influencers and people who produce content for Amazon sellers. I find that to be something that I see a lot more now. And
Hmm.
it's the same concept as an influencer on social, except this is a private list, and they have like little slots that you can buy, on the bottom of the emails that say
Yeah.
like, this is an agency, this is a software that's new, and that seems to produce good returns. I mean, anecdotally, I have not
Yep.
actually tried it myself, but that's something I'm
Yes.
looking
The
into.
the the solo ads type of thing. The direct kind of buys. I can't speak intelligently about it because I haven't done that. I've done it other places, but I haven't done it here. So I have no, unfortunately, I got nothing to help you with as far as what the efficacy of that is. Cool idea, something to certainly look into. But I got nothing on yay or nay for that one because that's not even the channel that I've even diverted my attention towards.
Fair enough. And one last thing, I'm really curious. With a larger team, you guys are 200 plus, is that right?
Yeah, like 100, 180.
180. Wow. I mean, I can't even imagine. How do you how do you structure that? If you can speak a little bit to, do you guys work in pods, or is there just like a really strong hierarchy? How do you
Yep.
guys manage such a large volume of people? It's kind of very impressive.
It's it's a labor of love, just like the rebranding that I would say. There's a lot of moving pieces towards it, and keeping it organized is a living and breathing thing. We use Monday in order to collect a lot of project management and keep everybody on the same page as far as that's concerned. But really, leadership on wherever they are, across the world, right? Leadership meeting on a regular basis, and just what we do is we have things that we call war rooms. Essentially, shutting down the leadership side of things, getting inside of a room. That's senior account managers, that's senior PPC, that's getting inside of there, going over each and every one of the account with all senior leadership and saying, what is the march forward as far as this is concerned? And then trusting those people in order to actually execute the thing forward. Finding the right people to be at that hierarchy is the magic of it. But we've got some really great people in some really high places here, that keep everything moving inside of that way. So the way that I kind of look at it is, um, uh, God, this sounds really stupid. I guess is the best analogy I could come up with, but almost like you're the conductor,
Hmm.
right? You're trying to take this section and rise it up in this section and make it so that they're speaking together and that it's all working harmoniously inside of the thing. That's kind of how I feel my current role is inside of this company. I'm looking forward to hiring more and getting more people in order to help me orchestrate. But it's that's what it feels like. It feels like everybody's playing music, and when you hear something kind of fall out of tune, it's time to kind of like practice and bring everybody together and go over it, and get the SOPs down, get that kind of those kind of processes down, and get just some really expert people to be up at the top. That's the key. Smarter
So
people than me. That's the key. I need the smartest people that I can get. And if I'm the dumbest person in the room, then I'm doing my job right.
yeah, then you win. That's the goal.
Yep.
Um, with the war room, you're going over, you yourself have exposure to every single one of your clients.
I have exposure to every single one of our clients.
That's amazing. I mean, even just to like log in your mind what every single person is selling, doing, what's the strategy there, what's the, remembering. I mean, you don't have to remember everything, it's logged, but I'm sure that you keep a pretty good file up here
Yeah.
about what's the structure and what, channels they're after, and what,
Yeah.
what's their goal, what's their KPI, what's their situation with the,
Yep.
manufacturing and all of
What's
that.
the problems? What's the issues? And that's what the war room is. The war room is a very emotionally draining day, to be totally transparent, because a lot of times we talk about what we have to talk about, which is the problems. We
Yeah.
don't talk about the shining accounts that are absolutely exploding. This client who started at, we were invoicing him 3K, now we're invoicing him 30K. Like, we're not talking about those guys. We're talking about the people who are having issues. What are we doing about those issues? How are we moving forward with that thing? So it has its drain towards it, and you're right, it does occupy a large piece of my brain. But growth is going good. It's time to start to hire smarter people than I am in order to be the person who's inside of that room, and I can focus on more content, more sending the signal out, more on marketing, because the way that I assume my role will evolve and the way that I want my role to evolve is less on the operations side and more on the sales and marketing side, because that's what I think an EVP or somebody who rises higher than that, which is my trajectory, is that's what moves the needle for the company, and that's what helps everybody at the company. It's not HR, it's not finance, it's not these things. You have good people for that, but if somebody who's smart, who could be an integrator and a visionary, if you want to use traction as I can't do my finger there. That book is fantastic for this. If you could find the person who's both of those things and get them to work on sales and marketing, and really let them be the cornerstone of the thing, and that includes projecting your face out there, being the voice of it, speaking, being on podcasts like this, starting a podcast, which we're already underway with. These types of things is where I really want to invest my time, and I think that will be the greatest payoff.
Yeah. So it's like, working with the clients or working on the business, right? And it's the gentle balance of both. But it seems like right now you're kind of at the tail end of like really the highest executive position with managing the clients. Anything further
Yeah,
than that is like you're just fully focused on your tasker and where your tasker is going.
Right, and especially with rev share, there's I've written something inside a contract that I have to sit down with senior management on the other side every 6 months and have a heart to heart. Are we doing what is good for you, right? And I want to hear what your opinion is on that. But are you doing what's good for us? Are you running out of stock? Are you not giving us what we need as far as this is concerned? Are you not giving us the time of day? If you're not getting back to us with approvals, if you're not getting these types of things, it's a very frank conversation, one-on-one. It's not like a negative one, and usually people are pretty on board with it and can kind of sense that, like, I'm here in good faith, right? And I think that's something. There's something to be said for that. But yes, and that's written inside of all agreements, no matter what happens with position, whatever it is that's the balance of the relationship, right? And keeping that going, and I believe in that so much. And that's why I actually really like Prosper, because we had some of our favorite clients and our biggest clients, come by, and I was able to sit down with them and look them face to face and talk about everything that needs to be talked about. And it was, uh, I love that stuff. It's cheesy, but I do.
Yeah, I mean, honesty is the most important thing with any relationship that's important. And I mean,
Yeah.
if you guys are on a rev share, I mean, that's, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that
It's kind of
it,
like getting married. You gotta
yeah,
talk it out. There's the
exactly.
dating, and then there's the, okay, now we're getting really serious and we're expanding, and now we're kind of getting married, and like, you got to talk about what you got to talk about. You can't skirt the issue. You can't avoid it. You can't.
Yeah,
That's just not how a healthy relationship is.
that's exactly it. The needs are not being met. You're not sending enough inventory. My needs are not being met, right?
Right. Yeah. It's just, I'm worried about us.
Yeah,
I want to talk. Let's talk. It's like that text message, like, we got to talk. It's like,
yeah,
oh, we got to talk. All right. But like, that's what you have to do if you're going to be a good partner. And that's
yeah,
that's what we try to be.
yeah. I bet you're a good husband then. If you're
I'd like to think so, but we could ask my wife about that. We'll invite her on the next podcast.
on the next one. Oh, awesome, Aaron. I think that's time for today, man. I really appreciate the talk today. Been very insightful for myself, hopefully for our listeners and whoever is gonna, listen to the recording after. So yeah, thank you for coming on, and I definitely looking forward to being on your podcast whenever you guys launch.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the first. We'll get an invite out to you very shortly about that. I'll follow a similar model as to what you're doing here, because I love the structure that you're doing. And no joke, love to come back. Love to sit down and talk about another topic, get further into marketing automation, talk about whatever it is. This has been awesome, and looking forward to coming back for another one.
I appreciate it. See ya.
Awesome. Cheers.